Good morning, children. I am Aisha, your English teacher, and today I hope all of us are doing good and being safe. Okay, today we are doing an interesting topic which I'm sure will also teach us a moral. So let's go ahead and see what we have in store today. Today we are going to do a poem by the name A Legend of the Northland, written by Phoebe Cary. Phoebe Cary was an American poetess, and with her sister Alice, they had written a lot of poetry. They grew up in a farm near Cincinnati, Ohio, and this area was later immortalized by Alice's book, which is called as Clover Nook. After the debut, the sisters moved to New York, where they became central figures in the East Coast literary milieu, contributing regularly to national periodicals and hosting a famous salon on Sunday evenings. They were also active in the early days of women's rights movement, with Phoebe serving as an assistant editor for Susan B. Anthony's newspaper, The Revolution. Overwork brought Alice's life to a premature end, while Phoebe's grief at her sister's passing contributed to her own death 5 months later. So today we are going to see a wonderful poetry written by Phoebe Cary, and as I said, the title of the poem, The Legend of Northland. Okay, so children, the learning objectives which you will learn while I am teaching the poem will be that you will be able to know and understand the culture, the lifestyle and the belief of people living in the region. When I say the region of Northland. We will also understand the countries which are in Northland, for example, Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, part of Russia, Greenland, etc. We will also be able to know that one must not be greedy and selfish, and if you are, what are the consequences? We will also learn how to have a sense of sharing. Let me just introduce you to the poem. A Legend of Northland is a ballad. A ballad is a poem narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballad is such kind of a poem which tells a story in short stanzas, and in the poem all the stanzas comprise of 4 lines. In total there are 16 stanzas in this poem, and these stanzas will tell us a story. So ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. And legend means a historical story, one which is very old and has been passed on from generation to generation. Let me take you through the gist of the poem. In this poem, The Legend of the Northland, the poet Phoebe tells a ballad about the lady and a saint. As you know, the setting is in Northland, and Saint Peter was hungry because of his journey worldwide. Now, if you have to tell about Saint Peter was one of the apostles of Jesus Christ, and all the 12 disciples or apostles of Jesus Christ went around the world preaching the word of God. In Northland, the saint came to the door of a cottage. There was a little woman baking cakes on a hearth. As the saint was hungry and faint, he asked the lady to give him a single cake out of her store of cakes. Now let's see what happens next. Will she give him the cakes or not? That part forms the rest of the ballad. Let's see, children. Are you all curious to know what happens next? Okay, some of the word meanings which you should know in the initial part of your poem. Harness, it's a strap to strap and fasten the belts. Usually they attach it to different carts. Sledges, a cart used on ice. I'll show you the pictures, what a harness is, what sledges. Cub, if you see, are the young ones of the bear or lion. Funny means amusing. Furry means covered with fur. Okay, when you look at these pictures, what imagery do you get into your mind? So where are the sledges used? And funny dresses worn by children. So why do you think they are funny? Because they are usually worn by children who are in very cold climates, and we find on ice, you see the sledge, people sitting on the sledge and drawn by a horse. So this is a sledge, and these are the children of the very cold places where they live, like the poem we are dealing with, which is dealing with Northland. So let's come to the poem, The Legend of the Northland, in your book, grade 9, Beehive, page number 65. I will read the poem and explain to you what it means, and also along with this I will be talking about the various poetic devices which are used by the poet to add on to the beauty of the poem. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So if you see, this is a picture of the map which is there in Northland, and if you understand Northland, when I say, it means the regions around North Pole. We have North Pole and South Pole, so they are extremely cool temperatures they have. So there is almost all around the year you find that it is having ice on them, and moreover the days are short and the nights are very long. So the poet is telling us that away, away, very far away in a land in Northland, the hours of the day are few, very few days, hours are there, like they may have 5 to 6 hours in the day. But the nights are very long, especially in winters. Now the time they are talking about is not summertime, it's winter time. That they cannot sleep them through, and they go to sleep, but even if they wake up, it is still dark. So that is the meaning in these 4 lines, that in a place like Northland, they have short days and longer nights, and the nights are never ending, especially during winters. Where they harness, they are the people of Northland, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bear's cub in their funny furry clothes. So if you can see, the imagery given here is about a Santa Claus, taking his sledge and the reindeers driving him around. So we have the sledge to, you can imagine a sledge being drawn by the reindeer. So here they are telling that the reindeers will be harnessed. The harness is used. You can see that it's tied to the cart. So the cart is the sledge here. They harness, where they are the people of Northland. They harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows. So if they have to travel from one place to another, they use the sledges as the means of communication. And the children, means of transportation. And the children look like bear's cub. If you see the children, how they are dressed from top to bottom, covered in fur. These are the animal furs. When they kill the animals for their meat, they take the fur to protect themselves from the extreme cold climates. In their funny furry clothes. So they are looking funny because they look like bear cubs. Now children, if you look at these lines, if you look at the third line, the children look like. When we use like and we speak about comparison between two things, the poetic device used is exactly, that is a simile. So, and the children look like bear's cub is a simile. If you look at it, you will find another one in the 4th line, which is alliteration. And as you all know, an alliteration is the repetition of the first letter of the word. It is repeated. You see here, F is repeated for funny as well as furry. First sound is happening there. So it is alliteration. They tell them a curious story. Now we come to a story which is being told again. So curious means a strange story. I don't believe it's true, but our poetess Phoebe doesn't believe that it is a true story. And yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. So she's telling, even if I don't believe it, but I think I should tell you this tale. Tale means a story, as you may learn a lesson out of it. It may help you as an individual. Once a good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it preaching just as he did, So she thinks that we all know who is Saint Peter, because Saint Peter is an apostle of Jesus Christ. He is one of the disciples, and after the death of Jesus Christ, the apostles took it upon themselves to go around the world and preach the word of God. So Saint Peter, while he was traveling, preaching means to spread the word of God. So he walked around the earth from different parts of the world, and finally he had arrived at Northland. He came to the door of a cottage. In traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them in hearth. So now she is talking about a cottage. So an imagery of a cottage is coming, children? Yes. So this cottage, he went and knocked on the door. And what does the lady of the house do? She opens it, and you get the fragrance of cake baking and bread making, anything. You get this the aroma of the thing fills the whole place. So he knew that this lady was baking cake, so he goes and knocks at the door. Why did he go and knock the door? Because he was hungry. In traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them in hearth, and faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So he went and knocked on the door of this lady and said, "Lady, can you please give me one from those store of cakes?" In the sense, she had made many cakes. So he asked, "Give me one of them, because I am very hungry. I have been going around and the day is almost come to an end, and I am feeling faint because of hunger and thirst, and he was very famished and tired, and he wanted to eat something." So he said, "Can you give me one of your cakes so that I can satisfy my hunger?" Let's see what she says or what she does. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Now she's taken one small bit of the dough and she made a cake. She thought, why should I make him a normal regular cake? Let me give him a small cake. So the moment she put this on the baking hearth for baking, it became a normal size cake, which she was making with more dough. Now with little dough, she sees that it is the same size which she was previously making. She was surprised. Therefore, she needed another. She thought, let me not give him this, I'll keep it to myself. Anyways, I'm storing a lot of cakes made by me. I will make a smaller one and let me see. So she again took the dough and started kneading. Kneading is to make a dough from flour. Like your mothers make rotis and chapatis and things which you like to eat. So we knead the flour. We pour water, put the flour, and then with our hands we keep mixing it, right? Till it becomes nice and sturdy. So we use that to make the rotis. In the same way, she was making it to make another cake. And still a smaller one. But it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. Oh my God, now this is like a repetition. It is the same size which she had baked with the normal amount of flour and dough. Now this has come. She took, in the first time she took little. Second time she took much more lesser than what she had taken the first time. And still the size of the cake was as it was in the beginning, without changing any proportion. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough. Tiny scrap means smallest amount she can even, she wiped the bottom of it and took a very little part of it. And rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. So what did she do? She rolled it to make it as thin as a wafer. The chips, wafers, as thin as a chips. You all like to eat Lay's chips and all. So as thin as a wafer. But she couldn't part with that, for she said, "My cakes that seem too small, when I eat of them myself, are yet too large to give away." So she put them all on the shelf. So this lady is being her selfish and greedy self. And what is she doing? She is finding that even the wafer thin which she rolled out has turned to be a normal cake, and that she was not ready to part away with. She was telling, when I make it for myself, they are too small. But when I am trying to make it for the saint, it is becoming too big, and I don't want to give it away. Now the saint was waiting and waiting and waiting. This lady was contemplating and thinking what to do, and not giving the saint anything to eat made the saint a little restless. So then good Saint Peter grew angry. Obviously he would get angry because he was very, very hungry. So she had immediately asked him what was wrong. For he was angry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. To provoke means to cause and get angry. Any person who is as patient and as compassionate and as a good human being as Saint Peter could be was still provoked. He was pushed. He was made angry by the actions of this lady. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm." So he said, "You are far too selfish. You're a very selfish woman. To dwell. Dwell is to live in a human form. You have food and shelter and warmth. You have all these things which every human wants to have a good life. You had all of this, but your selfishness will cause your doom. Now you shall build as the birds do and shall get your scanty food." So now he is giving her a curse. He is cursing the little woman for being such a selfish woman. What is he saying? So he said, "You shall build as the birds do and shall get your scanty food." How the birds will search for the food? They get very scanty food. They don't get plenty of food. They go search for the food all across the place to satisfy their hunger. So he was telling her that you had plenty, but you were not ready to part away with your food. You were not ready to share your food with somebody who is hungry and weary. You were trying to be selfish. Now I am cursing you. I am banishing you from all the comforts of your life. You will go and search for your food like the birds do. See here again, you see, as the birds do. So here again we see that there is a simile used. By boring, how are you going to find the food? By boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. So what will you do? You will keep boring in the sense piercing and make a hole into something by digging. It is like, you go and bore into the wood and take the food. All day in the hard dry wood. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. And zzz, out of the blue she went up the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew. She was a human who went up the chimney, but she came out a woodpecker. For what has she changed into? She had changed into a bird. She had a scarlet cap on her head. So when this lady was in the human form, she was having a red cap or scarlet color, dark red color cap on her head, and that was left the same. So if you see the woodpecker's picture, you see that the top of the woodpecker had a cap which was red in color, but all the rest of her clothes were burned. As she went up the chimney, her clothes had burnt and they had become black in color, black as a coal in the flame. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. So the poet has ended her poem by saying that even to this day, we see every schoolboy will see this bird in the wood in the forest or out in the open. Who lives there? This old lady has become a woodpecker, and all the woodpeckers who have come into evolve have been coming from this woman, and where she lives in the trees till this very day. So the woodpecker which you see is the old woman who had hurt the sentiments of a saint, and the saint had cursed her to become a woodpecker. And how is she finding her food? By boring and boring for food. She is not getting everything in her hand. She is working very hard for what she has to get to eat. So if you see here, we again see that there are certain literary devices like boring and boring, it's repetition. Then we have black as a coal of the flame. So it is what is it? As when we use it's a simile. So black as a coal in the flame is again used here. So we see that how Saint Peter had cursed the woman and she had become a woodpecker. Let's go through the poetic devices once again. We have repetition, away, away in the Northland, by boring and boring and boring. Repetition of words is called as poetic devices. Repetition, alliteration we had seen, funny, furry, still smaller. Today I would like to take you through an enjambment. Enjambment is a poetic device which means the running over of the sentence from one verse or couplet into another, so that their closely related words fall in different lines. That is, I will explain to you children. Enjambment is a device where the poets use, it doesn't end in one sentence. Sometimes this sentence is running over into the next line and then it gets completed. The sentence will be taking 2 lines or 3 lines. Sometimes it moves into 3 lines. Only then the whole sentence is complete. For example, if you look at here, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So it doesn't end with winter, but it goes and ends at through. Again, one more we can see. Then she took out a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. So we have 3 lines here, which is again a part of enjambment. So a sentence which is running into the 2-3 lines, we call that as enjambment. I hope you understood, children. And the simile, which is known to all of us whenever we use as or like to bring about a direct comparison between 2 things, we call that as a simile. And here we see that the children look like bear's cub, so they are comparing children with bear's cub, and black as a coal in the flame, the color of the clothes burnt, whereas black as the coal in the flame. For question and answers, we have children 6 questions which you will go through, and also you will have to write this in your notebooks and you will send me your pics. Additionally, you will also have to complete the activity booklet, page number 15 and 16. A Legend of the Northland will be there. You have reference to context questions. So please complete this and send it to me so that I can assess your work. Okay, let us go through the questions once. Which country or countries do you think the Northland refers to? Yes, Denmark, Netherlands, Iceland, part of Russia, and some of the Greenlands and other countries which are near the North Pole. What did Saint Peter ask the old lady for? What did he ask for? He asked for a loaf of or a cake to satisfy his hunger. What was the lady's reaction? She was ready to cook, but she was not very giving. How did he punish her? He punished her by making her a woodpecker. Do you think that the old lady would have been so generous if she had known who Saint Peter really was? What would she have done then? Do you really think that she would have done something differently than what she did? Maybe or maybe not, because it depends on how the situation is and how she would take it. But basically she is a very selfish and greedy woman, so I don't think it would have made a difference for her. Is this a true story? Which part of this poem do you feel is the most important? So, in my opinion, I think it's a legend, as we were talking about, and this is passed on from generation to generation. The part of the poem I feel is most important is that we should be able to satisfy the hungry. Whoever is hungry and comes to our door and knocks our door, we should be able to give them something to satisfy our hunger, not send them away hungry. How does the woodpecker get her food? By boring and boring in the hardwood. So that is how a woodpecker gets her food. So I hope, children, the topic is clear. The poem is clear to you all with the various poetic devices. All of you, it's a very simple poem, and all of you have to learn the value here is that we should be very giving to people who are needy. We shouldn't be selfish and greedy to accumulate all the things. Even during this tough times where people are all greedy and selfish, we should try to be a little generous and give to the people who are really in need of it. During these times of corona, where there are many people who are hungry and desperate to get something to fill their stomachs, we should also be able to help them out in little ways. I'm not telling to go and help at large or thousands you have to feed. Just 1 or 2 around your place. If someone is really hungry, they may not be saints, they may not be someone very great, but from our side we can do a small help. We can at least feed the hungry dogs or the animals, the stray animals. So feeding somebody would take us, in a bigger way. So children, I hope the value of giving, the value of being selfless and not greedy should be learned through this home. Thank you children, and have a wonderful day. I hope you have understood and you will complete the work as well. Thank you and good day.